Welcome, everybody. Sorry we're getting started late. Colton had to jump through a few cybersecurity hoops to get into Zoom. So we'll just wait a couple secs and then let Colton get started.
I'm ready to start whenever. Let me know when you think enough people have showed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can go ahead and start.
Okay. All right. So today, as part of the session, the title of the session is Ed Jupyter, but I'm also going to give a really brief overview of the platform as a whole, if that's okay, just so we can get a sort of holistic idea of what Ed is and what it's being used for outside of just data analysis as well, which kind of helps.
I will just before you start, I will say this is what the Data 8 class at Berkeley uses for managing class discussions. So this is the platform that we use to teach in the 1,500 person scale at UC Berkeley. We don't use the Jupyter side of it. We use the discussion side of it, but we had an incredible meeting at SIGSI with Colton and Alex, who were like, wow, we're revealing this whole other side of it. So we wanted to share that with the workshop.
Yeah. So for a lot of people, it is a surprise that there is more to Ed than the discussion, but I will start with discussion because it's what we're best known for. So the discussion is a replacement for any kind of discussion platform that you might have, either as part of the LMS and might be using, or any other kind of forum that you're using. And it's a modern replacement. It's got a modern UI, and it increases efficiency overall. If you have a big class, especially, it's very, very useful. But even for a smaller class, it's still something that helps everybody get the most out of the class in terms of getting the fastest responses, especially if you've got more than one staff member. So you don't have to deal with a bunch of emails coming in from the class, only going to a select few members of the course roster. And also helps you in terms of, we have some really powerful tools that are useful whether you're in statistics or any other kind of general subject. So Ed discussion gets used in lots of universities like UC Berkeley, not just in statistics faculty, but all over the place. So I have included some extra stuff which is specific to, I guess, like Python, which is often used, I guess, in data analysis, but can be used all over the place. So the core of Ed discussion really is a basic sort of Q&A format. So we have a bunch of courses here on the left that I've been enrolled in, categories that we can categorize a forum post based on what kind of content they're based in. And then we have the thread list here in the middle that has all of the different threads that have been posted by students. All right, so ultimately what happens is a student will post a question 90% of the time, and then someone will answer that question, and then you have a discussion about the question a lot of the time as well. It's not often as simple as the question and an answer. So it's very sort of Stack Overflowy. If you use Stack Overflow or one of those sort of family of websites, students ask the question here. It can be anonymous potentially, and as an instructor, I can come in here and have a further discussion about the question if maybe it wasn't 100% clear, and then I can answer it here at the bottom and craft an answer. So what we should be doing here is getting everyone on this course actually real quickly. So I'm going to throw this course link into the chat. And it would be really good if everyone that's on here would like to join in here. You can actually join interactively on this course. And Simon, who is here, I believe, I can't actually see. Oh no, I can't see the attendees if I swap over. So Simon, if you wouldn't mind joining this course, anyone who wants to join is in the audience. Please, how do you get this? How do you get into this version of Jupyter? Oh, we'll talk about Jupyter in a second, sorry. Yes, I've just thrown the URL in the chat, but Simon, who is in the chat, will need to add you to this course. Oops. So,
oh, you know what? Hold on, Colton. So when you share the link,
oh, it's host
click
and
to everyone instead of host and panelist.
Beautiful. All right. Sorry about that.
Sorry, folks.
That's so good. Sorry. Didn't realize there's a secret micro chat for us.
Yeah, you're in webinar.
Yep. All right, so I'll just make sure anyone who wants to join, throw your email in chat, and I will add you really quickly to the course.
Yeah, so it'll help the demo if a few people join the course, so he can demo with you being the sample students.
We can be the sample students, but also this will exist afterwards, so you can continue to play around with it as much as you like.
Nice. Looks like Megan and Uma are putting their names in the chat.
Yes, thank you. I can't copy and paste the names from. That's not what I wanted. I can't copy paste from Zoom for a reason. It was made that hard. Suspend edu. Okay, admin. Thomas at CS system. Shout out if I've got your details wrong because I'm copying in by hand. All right, I'll allow YouTube first. Yeah, so sorry, put your email into the chat here, and then I will invite you to this. Just to see. All right. Oh, Eric, of course. And I have spelled Berkeley correctly, I think this time. There's more E's than anyone expects. And if you don't use Ed in a capacity outside of this, you might have to create an account real quickly. All right, it's extremely simple. It doesn't ask for any personal information. It's just your name, which you can put in a pseudonym or whatever if you'd like, and then an email. I've already actually put your name in, so even if you put in a different name, I think it should use the name that I've just typed in there. All right, so if anyone has any problems getting in, please do let me know. Has anyone managed to make an account and hop in? If you have, meet me here at this top discussion post. So click on the discussion. You should wind up on the home page here. When you do, click on the courses. There should be only one for you, Berkeley Data Science Workshop. And you'll be in here. Let me know if you've managed to join.
I'm in.
Beautiful. Everyone else good? And it'll send you an email. But that's what it means by. Okay. All right. So if anyone's having any problem, feel free to. Let me know in chat. Sam's managed to get in. Eric's managed to get in. All right, excellent. So, like I said, this discussion forum is extremely useful whether you're in statistics or not. But we have a lot of features that are. Hi, Uma. Thanks for joining. All right, so we've got a lot of features that are specifically useful for computer science, which also, of course, leads into statistics. And let me just make sure I'm on Do not disturb. Second. Area. So we can run a bunch of Python code in here, which is really cool. So you can get some interactive demos going here with like some plots using some matplotlib. We've got all kinds of commonly used Python modules baked right in for statistics and analysis. So you can also even change this on the fly. So students, even though this post has actually been made, we can come in here and change these values and get some nice interactivity. So students can experiment with the code, change it, rerun it, run their own code as well as part of this discussion forum question. So if they've got a question about code, this is a really good place to answer it. All right, but aside from that, have a play around with it underneath. Uma's already worked with that. We have a lot of features that are useful for the world of statistics. We have a built-in equation editor, etc. And that's extremely useful if you have students that are learning LaTeX. That will be great for them. All right, so Uma, I will actually have someone from our staff figure that out for you. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure. So that's me. Just want to make sure that everyone can actually get in here. All right. All right. So let's keep rolling with this. So discussion forum, if you have more than a few students in your course, you're going to want to use something like that. And like Eric has mentioned, this is used at huge scales across different universities. From 1,500 students is actually fairly modest use, to be honest. We have some courses that use this with upwards of 4,000, 5,000 students, and we've had some extreme cases where up to 12,000 people have been using one course at a time for some massively online open courses with thousands of staff members on it as well. All right, so feel free to have a play around with this. Like I said, it's available for you to use after the demo as well, so it's going to stick around. And again, if you have any questions about this, feel free to email us at team@edstem.org, and we'll set up a proper demo. I mean, we usually have hour-long demos just about the discussion, potentially with questions included. There's a lot of functionality, a lot of features that are built in that we've crafted specifically for computer science, maths, STEM courses, and we'd love to have a chat about that. But I'm going to keep moving in the interest of time, because the name of this demo is actually Ed Jupyter. So we're going to talk a little bit about what Ed is beyond a discussion forum, because the discussion forum is our sort of, I guess I'm going to call it our flagship product in terms of that's what people know us for. But we do have a lot of really cool features outside of that. So now we're getting into the world of Ed Workspaces. So what's a workspace? A workspace is a computing environment, and it's zero config for you to set up for students. So it's an environment where students can learn to code, can do projects, can work collaboratively with other students in some sort of language that they're working with. So in terms of what is interesting here is Jupyter. So that's only one type of notebook or one type of workspace that you can create here. But we're going to have a look at that now. So if you switch over to the Workspaces tab at the top, then you can open this Jupyter demo notebook here that I've created. It should be public. Can everyone confirm that they can see that? If you click down to the public section here at the bottom, it should show up. Yep, great. All right. So feel free to hop into that. All right, and we are here in Saturn. So Saturn is Ed's take on Jupyter. We've gone one planet better So it is a Jupyter notebook under the hood. It's completely Jupyter. We've just provided our own custom interface on top of Jupyter. So Jupyter is the kernel and the backend that is still powering this. So it's 100% compatible with Jupyter. We've just got our own interface on top of it. So it's fairly minimal in terms of what's available here, but it actually has all of the power of Jupyter available right there within the command bar. It's just a little bit cleaner, saves some vertical space. As you'll know, Jupyter has quite a thick toolbar at the top, but we try to keep that nice and clean because most of the time what you're doing is actually running cells, running or creating new cells. Everything else is available with just a Command P or a Control P, and then start typing. So I'm assuming most people here are familiar with Jupyter and what Jupyter can do. Feel free to mention in chat if you're brand new to Jupyter. But Ed has everything that you'd expect from Jupyter with a couple of really neat pieces on top. So one thing that Jupyter lacks by default is collaboration. So there's no way that multiple people can work on the same Jupyter notebook through the normal Jupyter front end at the same time. We've added that on top. So for instance, I can see that Uma right here is currently editing this cell or has clicked onto this cell right here because the name is showing here. Yep, and so text is being added in real time while other people are editing it. Great. So that's really excellent. We can see all of that collaboration has been built on top of Jupyter. So everything else works exactly as you'd expect with a Jupyter notebook. Yep, so we get a flag when people are editing code. You could run that, use a whole bunch of libraries that we've included for you, and we can include anything else that you need on top of that. Zero config for the students, so everyone gets on board real quickly and you don't have to do any kind of setup for students, which is especially useful in these kind of faculties where you have people that are coming from other places across the university, maybe doing 1 or 2 statistics courses, and they're not really computer science majors, and they're not doing a whole lot of, they're not used to installing a whole bunch of software and configuring everything. Mail server is faster than mine. Sorry, Megan, did you need some help with that? You still haven't got the email yet? Ming's got the email, excellent. Sorry that that took so long, it might have been spam filtered. But yeah, feel free to email us afterwards if you still haven't got access to it. I will really quickly, everyone else, feel free to have a play around in the notebook for 1 second. I'll send your email again, Megan, just to my partner and make sure that everyone has got this. All right, so yeah. Okay, so we've seen what the Jupyter notebook actually looks like in Ed. And everything works as you expect, including things like interactive widgets. So we've got data support for that built in. That's an example with Folium. So it's like a CIS data, mapping data. And we also have full support for Python widgets. So if you have used widgets before, we have that baked in. So for instance, I can edit this graph here and change the frequency of the cosine plot, right? So you can use this to create some more interactivity in your lessons and have some interactive Jupyter notebooks with some GUI elements in there, which is pretty neat. And the final thing that we can do is we can actually auto grade these notebooks, which is really, really cool. So we can auto grade Python workbooks, and we can also auto grade specifically Jupyter notebooks. So this was Ed Workspaces. The idea behind Ed Workspaces was everybody can collaborate and work in the same platform. But we use, so it's not really supposed to be graded, I guess. Other people can come on board and join the workspace by making it public, like I have for this one. But it's not really supposed to be assessed per se. This could be something that you use to teach to the whole class, or it could be something where you set up a demo for your students, and then they can basically fork it like you would with a Git project, where the students come in, they can't edit it, but they can fork it, create their own version, and then start playing around with the code. So it could be like lecture week 1 demos are all in one notebook. And if they want to play around with it, they can fork it and then play around with it themselves, their own version on their own account. Yes, you can do the same for R. And in fact, we have an interface for a couple of different R Studio or other R interfaces. You can also just use a traditional notebook for that as well. So yes, lots of people use R with Ed. We can support basically any programming language, but R and Jupyter with the Python backend are two of the most popular, actually. Yep. So we'd be happy to have a chat with you specifically about R if you'd like to. All right. So just to keep rolling again, the final place where Jupyter actually shows up in the context of potentially being auto-graded as well is in the lessons tab. So if we're going across, we've gone from discussion, we've looked at workspaces, which was sort of the core of how we work with Jupyter in Ed. But lessons extends that a little bit. So you can embed a workspace into a lesson as what we call a code challenge. So let's have a look at that. So I've got this demo up here specifically for this event, Saturn notebooks and auto grading. So Jupyter in there as well, because that's just so no one gets confused where we're at. So the first thing that you can do in a lesson, let's just take a step back, sorry. So lessons are our way of you giving course content to students in a way that's a little bit more interactive than potentially just throwing onto Canvas or whatever LMS that you use. So in these lessons, you can have modules. Modules are each mini lessons, and inside of those, you can have web slides, you can have reading slides which have runnable code. You can have code challenges. So a code challenge is what we call it's a little mini workspace basically here. This looks like a workspace, but inside of that, students can write code and they can actually have it graded for them. Potentially you can have it auto-graded, they can pass a bunch of test cases, and that makes it sort of fun and interactive way for them to either test their skills and learn something with 0 stakes, or you can also have this graded in a way, right? So you can have it report back grades. And then you can also do quizzes and other kind of interactive content in here as well, quizzes, surveys, etc. So that makes it a little bit more fun, maybe, than some sort of traditional learning style. But specifically for this demo, let's have a look at the Saturn example that I've created here. So Saturn, there are 2 things you can do with it. In any case, you can embed what's called a shared workspace and a shared workspace slide. So this is just what we saw before in the workspaces tab, where we've got this same Saturn notebook. I just copy paste this into this lesson. And this is actually really neat because if I edit this slide, one thing I can do is you can put tutorials into Ed. And so you can make this slide here, everyone can collaborate on the same slide across the entire course. So that would mean that everyone like that's on the call right now, if you go over to lessons and you pop over to this lesson, you'll all be editing the same workspace. Alternatively, you can make it so that everyone that's in the same tutorial gets access to the same workspace and they can all edit it. Or you can make it so that every student gets their own version of the workspace. So they all get to edit that separately. So that controls the collaboration level for those students. And then they just get the same thing that you saw in workspaces. There's just more that it's part of a learning experience in terms of we would name this lesson whatever kind of concept you're trying to teach today. So if the concept was how to, or what are factorials, what do we do with factorials, for instance, you would have maybe a reading slide about factorials, potentially a video, something like that, quiz, and then you could have this notebook embedded as part of it, where they can mess around with some code and have this tested. So if you hop in here and have a look at this, example in here, you can try and answer some of these questions yourself. All right, so there's 2 example questions in here. So if I write a brief solution to this, n equals 0 or n equals 1, return 1, return n times factorial n minus 1. I think that should work, right? That looks like good factorial code to me. So, and then when I click mark down here in the corner, it's started marking us. So, and we can see I've passed some of the tests, which is great. So I passed the factorial test here. So obviously my factorial code did work relatively well. And that's beautiful. I didn't pass some of these other tests. So the next test here was I didn't pass the test for this cell here. So I didn't actually print hello world. So the takeaway for this is you can use it for some interactive experiences. You can have a workbook that's just for fun with the students, or you can actually grade them as part of this experience as well. And yes, you can do everything you can do for R. All right, so anyone got any final questions linger around? I know Eric has had to head off because he's having to chair the next session. So we wanted to have a look with R. I'm not sure exactly the policy here, given that Eric has had to head off, what time we have to actually wrap up this session, but I assume we want to keep on to time and wrap up at 8:30. So Uma, feel free to send me an email and we can set up a session if you've got a few minutes at some point, and we'll talk just to you about R if you want to do that. But all of this functionality is available for R or any other kind of programming language that you can really imagine. You've got lots of different workspaces that you can create. So if you come over here and you're an admin here, anyone that's on the call, so feel free to come over and have a play with it if you'd like to. Yes, you could. So we do have this being used as an LMS replacement in some courses. Most of the time we find that people don't use it as a full LMS. But we do have some people that do use this as their entire teaching software, yes. So we have a bunch of different programming languages that are supported. So this is what you can do here. So we've got R, and we also have R Studio. Some people want to use R Studio specifically, which gives that a GUI version of R Studio. R Studio Cloud. Sorry, I didn't see the question about R Studio Cloud. Okay. Would you then say this workspace is like R Studio Cloud for R? Yes, I guess in a way it is sort of like R Studio Cloud. It does have some extra functionality on top of that, though. Like I said, in terms of R Studio Cloud is just a compute environment where you can just basically run R, which is similar to workspaces, I guess. So the workspaces, I guess, are similar to R Studio Cloud, but because of the way that you can work with workspaces in Ed, which are things like you can partition it in different spaces, you can assign different students from your cohorts to different workspaces. They can fork it, create their own versions. You can also put it into lessons and have that auto-graded. There's the same thing. You could do that with R as well. There's a lot more functionality on top of just R Studio Cloud. Okay, yeah, I'll create you a quick workspace. R workspace non-R Studio. So this will just be a general workspace, but it's there for R. So I'll create that real quick. Yeah, so yes, you can grade them however you'd like. I mean, if you're going to manually grade them, you don't really need the lessons auto grader feature. You could just grade them into whatever grading software you'd like. All right, so I will make this public real quick. Hi, Eric, you're back. Oh, sorry, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get you to wrap up so I could bring the panelists over to the Snap demo.
Oh, I'm really sorry. Oh, I didn't realize it was only one session. Okay.
Well,
I thought we could.
there's only a few attendees. That's mostly the issue.
Oh, okay, all right. So I'm really sorry to steal you away, everybody.
No worries.
Please head over to the next demo. Uma, I would love to have a chat with you afterwards. Send us an email. All right, thanks everyone. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. You did a really nice job.
Yeah, really sorry about that. Didn't realize.
Hey, no problem. No problem. It's
All right.
on me.
Yeah. See ya.
Ciao.